Well, hello everybody, Jeff here from the Learn Portrait Drawing channel, and on this video we are going to watch how I drew this portrait right here from start to finish. You're going to hear my thoughts, you're going to see how I corrected big mistakes, all kinds of things are going to happen on this video, so I hope you really enjoy it, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Means a lot to me. This channel's growing pretty fast and I really appreciate everybody that watches, comments, likes the video, all that good stuff. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And with that being said, let's sit down and watch how I drew this portrait right here. Okay everybody, so here we go with the drawing. As you can see, I'm gonna start out by just trying to sort of frame the outside of the picture. So I'm just getting an idea in my head of where I want the drawing to fall on the paper. And if it isn't already obvious, this is a slightly sped up video. This drawing took about 3 hours to draw, and then probably another 40 minutes to just do little tweaks here and there. So what I did is I just sped it up by double. So for most of this drawing, I'm actually drawing double the speed. So it's still slow enough for you to see what I'm doing, but it's fast enough that you won't have any, problems following along or anything like that. So as you can see, I'm kind of right here. We're just getting the face down. We're just drawing a rough image of where we want the face to be. So I'm just saying, I don't know if this is accurate. I don't know if it's too wide or if it's too tall. I don't know if the hair is correct. This is just the important part of this step is so that we can see where it's going to fall on the paper, what the composition is. So here I'm kind of just getting ideas of maybe where the brow is going to be. I know the brow is about the height of the width of her face. So that's why I'm taking a measurement of the width and then flipping my fingers like that to show you where I think the brow is. And now I'm going to try and estimate where the nose is. So I'm taking a measurement of the brow, and then I go down to the nose, and then I'm seeing where the chin is. And these are just all visual measurements I do. I'll look at the picture, hold my hand up to it. And one thing I need to mention in this drawing, I purposely try and do the Reilly abstraction or the Reilly method of drawing, which is where you're going to see me draw all these lines and placement points. And this kind of helps lock in where the features are. One of my biggest mistakes still to this day, and I know a lot of other beginners, is, where do I place the eyes? Where do I place the nose? So the Reilly method or the Reilly abstraction of drawing kind of helps answer those questions. By drawing these lines, it kind of lets you know where to put the features. Because at this stage I still don't know. I'm just guessing. So I'm guessing that this is where the eye socket's going to be, right in here. And so I'm just going to draw like the structure of the face so I know where to put the eyes. And this is all based on the Reilly rhythm. Now I make some pretty big mistakes in this drawing, and I'm going to show you that pretty soon. Actually, I'll give you a little preview. Right now the nose is not correct. I did the nose sort of straight on, and it's not angled like you see in the picture. So we end up correcting that in a little bit. But right here I'm drawing the bottom sort of area of where the eyes are going to be. This is right here is giving me a placeholder where the eyes are going to be inside there. And I'm looking at the picture, I'm looking at my drawing, and I'm just going, does that look correct? Yeah, I guess it looks correct. Aside from the nose being a little off, the eyes look like that's where they should be. Here's, the chin's down the bottom. And so I'm trying to figure out where the mouth might go. Trying to base where the lips might go. I'm looking at the picture and going, well, it's probably about right here. And again, we're guessing. We just draw marks at this stage, put some lines down, and then just kind of see how does it feel. Does it feel like it's correct? Does it feel like it's where the picture is? You know, how the reference is. So here I'm drawing the muzzle of the mouth. That goes from sort of the nose down below the bottom lips. So I'm just drawing a circle right here. And see, it kind of gives your brain something visual. It helps you visualize the form. There's the chin. And so it kind of makes your brain see in a three-dimensional sort of wireframe, a three-dimensional form, I guess, is all I can say. See, here's where the cheek, this is a rhythm here for the cheeks. And this goes up to the, sort of like the eye socket, and then down to the cheek, down to the jawline. And because you're drawing these circles, these concentric circles, you kind of get the form that the face is like a ball. Now here from the nose up to the eye, this is going to form sort of the cheekbone area. So it comes up from the mouth to the nose to the eye socket. This kind of helps form the way the cheeks go. And it also forms the sides of the mouth. And then here, just again, there's a line that comes down and meets this line. And there's a line that comes up from the mouth right here. And see, it's kind of forming areas of the face that indicate plateaus, indicate contours. Right here, there's going to be where the bottom of the eye is usually right in this section. And then I'm going to see how wide we are, because usually an eye width apart is how wide the eye is. So I'm making just little dots here. I'm using soft fine charcoal this whole stage. And I'm just going to draw a little circle here just to indicate sort of the ball of the eye, where it's going to fall. It's going to fall right in there. And the eyelids will draw over this. Here's a little rhythm for the forehead. You don't really see it on her, but I like putting it in. This is the side plane right here of the head, where the temples would be. And finish this other eye here. So see, we're just sort of mapping out the face and creating an easier way for us to visualize where these things are, where now we can figure out, okay, where we can place the mouth. We know the mouth is going to fall right in this area. And so I'm just going to outline a rough mouth. And at this stage, it's important just to, a lot of it's guessing. You know, beginner artists, myself included, you don't realize there's a lot of guessing at first when you're doing a freehand drawing. So don't feel like you have to be correct right from the beginning. Just put down your best guess, and then we can do visual measurements. Then we can check angles and things like that. But right now we're just doing our best guess. I'm just guessing this is kind of where the mouth is. And you could see it's not correct at this stage, but it's not too far off, and that's what's important. So see, I'm just using my fingers to kind of do little basic measurements to see, you know, my widths and heights. Are those correct? Does the eye angle, the corner of the eye, does that line up to the side of the nose? Those are things I check. There I'm checking the corner of the mouth to the eye. You can take 2 points of any picture and kind of use that to your advantage to see where things are. That's very important when it comes to freehand drawing. You know, if you were using rulers and grids and things like that, this would all be done for you, but I like freehanding it. I like the freedom of it, and I like the challenge of it. So when you do a freehand drawing, you got to take these reference points and angles and just take your best guess. So at this stage, I'm still trying to lock in where I want things to be. I wasn't really too happy with the mouth. I kept kind of fiddling with that, checking the angles for where the corner of the mouth's going to be, things like that. But at this stage, again, it's just a lot of getting something down till it feels right. And what's great about this soft charcoal that you see me using, it's very easy to erase. You just take your finger and rub it, and it basically erases itself. So you don't have to worry about making a mistake, being locked into it, anything like that. You can easily change everything you're doing at this stage. By the way, if anybody has any questions about any of this, please leave me a comment. I do answer all my questions. I'm going to have a future video on this Reilly method in detail, where I just talk about drawing it from start to finish. But if you're already sort of familiar with it, then you'll recognize all these lines that I've drawn. So here's the brow line that I actually forgot to put in of the Reilly rhythm. This line there just kind of indicates where the height of the eyebrows might be on the face. And so I'm just, again, whenever you see me do that, put down the pencil, and move it across the page. I'm just taking measurements, visual measurements with my eyes and reference points. So you could see, just based on that Reilly rhythm and the wireframe and just the rough features we've put down, we've already kind of got her position down. We already kind of got a good starting point where we can build on. So I'm going to kind of draw a rhythm here for the top, where the eyelid's going to be. So we're setting where the top of the eyes are. Inner corner, outer corner, inner corner on this side, outer corner on that side, and then checking the width, making sure they're all about the same. I don't want one eye too much bigger than the other eye. Again, the nose is a little off. Her nose should be coming out to the left a little more, and we will correct that coming up. But right now when I'm drawing this, I'm not yet seeing that. I'm kind of focused on everything else. Unfortunately, because I did get the nose a little wrong, it does kind of mess up everything else. It messes up where I put the mouth. You know, when you're putting down features and measuring everything off features, and then if you change one thing, it kind of can change everything, as you'll see. I make some big mistakes, but I do my best to correct them. So here what I'm just doing is taking my finger and rubbing the soft charcoal into the paper. It's erasing some of those lines, or at least it's minimizing those lines into the background. So I can still see them, I can still use them for my reference, but you're not going to see them on the final drawing. If you want to see all the stuff that I'm using as far as what kind of paper, what kind of pencils, what kind of charcoal, I have a link in the description of this video. It's at the very bottom. If you click the link, it'll take you to Amazon. It's a single page, though, that has everything on that one page that I bought from there. So that's for anybody that wants to kind of see exactly what I'm using. So here I have my number 4 charcoal pencil, and this is where I'm starting to draw the actual details of the eye. So I'm trying to draw the actual shape of the eye where I set it before. And at this stage, one of the things I'm trying to do, I'm trying to remind myself, don't draw an eye, just draw a shape. So I know that sounds kind of funny, or sounds kind of, you know, typical of what an artist would say, just draw the shape. But I'm really not trying to focus on the eye. I'm just trying to look at, you know, how big is the dark part? How big is the light part? What shape is the white part of the eye? Is it a little triangle? Is it a big triangle? You know, is it steep? Is it narrow? I'm just trying to draw these little shapes. And then that way, when you just draw a little shape over and over and over again, then when you step back and you look at it, oh wow, look at all those shapes just made an eyeball. Or all those shapes just made a nose. So it's a constant reminder in my own head when I'm drawing at this stage. Just draw what you see. What shape does it look like? Okay, try and draw that shape. So here's an important part right here, this dark part of the glabella, which is sort of that upper part of the nose. That gets really dark in there, and that really helps give your drawing some depth. But here's where the eyebrow is, and I'm asking myself, like, okay, look at the distance between the eyebrow and the eyes. Does that look about right? You know? Now here's where a mistake is. I should have noticed the angle of the nose right here, but I didn't. And I don't remember exactly where I caught my error. It might be right up here as I'm drawing the nostrils, where I realize this looks a little too small. But we'll see. We'll see here in a second. Now, because of the angle of this picture, you could see I've shaded the bottom of the nose, like this whole. It's like dark. That's the bottom plane of the nose. So that's why the top of the nose looks light, the bottom looks dark, and that gives just your brain the idea that it's three-dimensional. At this stage of the drawing, what I'm doing is there's no smoothing out or anything. I'm just using my pencil to kind of put down the main features, put down the eye, put down the nose, and just scribble in some shading and shadows. So it's not smooth. This is sort of the rough stage. So we're zooming in here so you can see just a little bit better. So I'm checking the angle. I'm just trying to see if the eyes are about still at that same angle. I think they are. So we're locking in the eye. Going to reinforce the eyelid here. And I'm looking how big is the white part of the eye. It's about right there. And how big is the other part of the eye, the white part. And I go, the white part makes a triangle about maybe this big. And see, by looking at the whites of the eyes, I have just determined the size of the pupil. And the iris, I mean. I always get those two confused. Iris and pupil. And I don't know at this stage if I have the eye exactly correct or not. But I'm just doing my best. We're just guessing. We can tweak it later. What I really liked about this drawing is I love that bright light on the side of her face because it really creates some awesome shadows. So here I'm drawing the line, sort of like this shadow line, to give myself an idea of where the separation is. Now notice if you look at the eye here, see this is, I wonder if this is where I'm noticing the nose. But the angle of the nose, how it comes out. Look at my drawing. The angle of the nose kind of comes out and barely goes past the eyeball. But if you look on the drawing, it looks like her nose, if you look at the picture, the angle of her nose looks like it comes out and meets almost in the middle of her eye. Or close to it. So I'm going to notice that coming up and realize I made the angle of her nose too narrow. So we're just shading, we're just putting down some spots where we know that's going to be darker. I've gone a little too dark on that eye, but that's okay. This is all stuff you're going to see. We're going to smudge this all in. It's going to really change coming up. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of what else I can actually say. You know, I don't want to be too chatty, too chatty on the video. Hopefully these are educational to sit down and watch how it was drawn. We know when I first started out, you know, I haven't taken any art lessons or gone to art school or anything like that. This is all based on me watching other artists on YouTube. I'll watch other artists do videos just like this, and it helps me to learn. And so that's why I'm hoping these videos can help other people. And I know it helps me too. I'll go back and I'll watch these videos every now and then of my own just to see how I did a drawing, or you know, what choices did I make. Or sometimes you'll see a picture and go, wow, I really like how the artist drew that nose. I wonder how he did that. Well, a video like this you can watch and see, okay, I know how the final picture looks, let me watch how it was done. Now, I had a lot of trouble with the mouth on this drawing, like even up to the very end. So you're going to see me sort of mess with the mouth a lot. To me, it's always more difficult when the person is smiling, showing teeth, or the mouth isn't closed, like the lips aren't touching. Because I never know how far apart to make the mouth or anything like that. So I kind of picked this picture because I knew it was going to be a little hard for me. But I'm just doing my best guess here to draw an open mouth. I think I struggled also a lot with the angle of the mouth, but you know, again, when you're drawing freehand, when you're drawing all based on observation, the whole point is not to get it 100%. You're not trying to make a photograph. You're trying to make a nice portrait. So you can see right here, I'm thinking to myself, that mouth looks pretty small because look how big the chin looks. This chin looks like Jay Leno's chin. And I'm asking myself, either the mouth is too small or the chin is too big. So here I'm taking some measurements. And again, I think some of that might have been because the nose is a little off, which made the mouth a little off. And I'm a little scared to like shrink where the chin is because I took some measurements in the beginning. I know the eyebrows are where they're supposed to be because that's where I said the chin was. So I don't want to bring the chin up too high. So I'm just going to kind of shave it in right here. Just shaving it in just a little bit. I'm still trying to keep the length of it. But I'm trying to make her face not look so big now. So just that little bit right there kind of made it a little bit better. But again, I still feel like her mouth is a little off. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So we're not trying to make a photograph. At least I'm not. Your style might be different. You know, everybody has different I don't know, artistic goals in mind. Some people want to create something that looks exactly like a photo. So you go, wow, that's a drawing? That looks just like a photo. That's not what I try and do. I want you to look at my drawing and go, that's a great drawing. You know, I want you to see it's a drawing. Am I trying to get it to look like the person? Yeah. But if I don't, then I still want it to be a good drawing. Because unless you're looking at the picture like that you see on the screen, unless you're looking at that reference picture, you'll never know if my drawing looks exactly like it. Because in the end, all you're going to see is the drawing. You're not going to see the reference picture. So again, I'm just checking angles. I think my brain at this point is realizing something might be off. So I'm just double checking the eyes, making sure the eyes are the right width. So while I'm still drawing here and sort of just walking through everything, I just want to again thank everybody that's already subscribed to me. This channel's growing pretty fast, so I'm very appreciative and thankful for that. If you've already subscribed, I really do appreciate you. So see, I'm checking things like the width of the nose to the side, you know, and then comparing that to the mouth to the side of the face. But this is where I realize this nose is not wide enough. So we erase it. Not a big deal. See, I'm realizing it needs to come out. Checking the angles. It just needs to come out at this angle right here. Watch how much bigger it makes the nose. Look how much bigger that is than what I had it before. Now this looks real funny, like whoa, that's like Barbra Streisand nose. That's a big honker, right? But watch after we put in the nostrils and stuff, it ends up looking pretty proportionate. And then you realize, wow, how off was I? I had that nose so small. So see, that messed up the whole mouth. Because I made the nose bigger, now the mouth is way too small. It's not in the right spot. So I just completely erase the mouth and decide I'm going to redo that. So there's the ball of the nose, kind of right in this area. And I'll draw a little circle like that. Kind of gives you a three-dimensional feel to it, right? Kind of feels like, look at, just that little thing makes the nose look a little 3D. And then now I'm checking the angles, where the nose comes out, and where the mouth is going to come out now. It wasn't off by a whole lot, the mouth, but again, like I said, I was kind of struggling with it for a little bit. And so I kind of redo the mouth a few times. And that's what's great about, you know, drawing in general, is that it's okay to erase. It's okay to, you know, completely change a feature. Never feel like you're too far into a drawing that you can't change it. I mean, there does come a point when you put down so much you can't change it, but in this drawing and in a lot of my drawings, I get to a spot where I completely erase certain features that most beginners would never think to change. You just think you're locked in, but it's, you know, you'll be surprised what you can change and when you can change it on a drawing to make it look better. So here I am trying to widen the mouth just a little bit because I don't want the chin to look so big. So I'm making the mouth look bigger than I originally had it, so it comes down further and doesn't make the chin look so massive. Now, one of the things that I do think I do address this later, but at this stage of the drawing I'm not really seeing it, but the angle of that mouth is a little too angly. It's the same angle as like the nose, and this is what I still need to work on as an artist myself, is recognizing that the angle of the mouth right now is just a little too diagonal, and I think it needs to be more horizontal. So that's something that, again, I'm going to constantly be working on as an artist on my upcoming pictures. I'm always keeping things in mind. And that's why it's important you always keep on drawing, because you build off your last drawing. You always build off your last drawing. So I haven't started my next portrait yet at the time of me narrating this, but on my next portrait I'm going to remember all these little things. Hey, remember on this portrait when you made the mouth a little too diagonally? Let's keep that in mind and make sure we're not doing that again. So you're going to learn from your own mistakes. You're going to self-teach yourself with every drawing. And that's kind of what being a self-taught artist is all about. You'll look at what you've done, you'll realize where you've made a mistake, and you'll work on correcting that the next time. So as we look at the drawing, what we have so far, you can see we're kind of locking in the features. We got the nose, the mouth, the eyes, the eyebrows. We got the width of the face, and we have some scribbling where the shading and shadows are going to be. And that's all I'm doing at this stage. I'm just trying to lock in where things are going to be. We're not doing any smoothing out or rendering at this point. We're just like right here. Here's, where's this, how's the angle of this forehead go? Where's the top of the hairline? These are all things I'm thinking at this point. So I'm drawing like this part where the hair is going to be. Sort of like framing in the face. We're just framing in the face. Establishing here where the highlight's going to be. The chin. Again, here I am working on the mouth. There's just all sorts of corrections I'm trying to do. You're laying some value down for the hair. I don't have to focus on the hair at this point, but I do want to get something down for my brain to just realize, okay, because sometimes you put the hair down and then it brings out things in the face. So putting down this value for the hair is going to help me see the shadows on the face better, see how dark I need to make it. So see, the drawing's coming together little by little. So at this point of the video, or at this, at this part of the drawing, we're probably about 30 minutes into it, which is about an hour into real life drawing. So what you see on the screen right now took me about an hour to draw in real time. It only took you 30 minutes to see it because I've sped it up by twice the speed. But one of the questions a lot of people ask me is, they'll go, wow, I like that drawing. How long did that take you? And the answer is, most of the drawings you see on this channel take me 3 hours to do. I don't do that 3 hours at one time. I draw for 1 hour and then I stop. And then I'll, give myself a break for, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes a couple hours, just depends on what I'm doing. But I never draw for more than 1 hour at a time. So I draw for an hour and stop, then I'll draw for a second hour and stop, and then I might draw in little sections, 30 minutes here, 10 minutes there, taking breaks in between. The further I get into the drawing, the more breaks I need, because I need to see, what needs to change. And you don't see things until you take a break. When you're in the stage that I'm in right here drawing, I'm hyper focused on little tiny things. I don't notice the big picture so much. So here I'm just looking for, where is the shading going to be? And because we drew those Reilly rhythms, I kind of know where the mouth muzzle of the mouth is, where the fatty parts of the cheeks are. That's what's great about the Reilly rhythm, is you kind of get a feeling for the three-dimensionality of the face. And when you know how the face is structured and the form of the face, then you know kind of where the shadows are going to be. We know where the light's coming. It's coming from this side. So the other side of the face, we know where the shadows are going to end up being. So I'm just kind of lightly sketching these little lines of the neck. This is the cast shadow underneath the chin where it's real dark. And so this is sort of like the sketch phase. This is the phase. I'm just laying everything out. And if you have any questions about anything, please leave me a comment. I know sometimes when you watch videos like this, you go, yeah, that's great, but you didn't teach me anything, you idiot. You didn't teach me nothing. All you did was talk the whole time. Well, I'm trying to talk and I'm trying to share like what my mentality is while I'm doing this drawing, because for me, a lot of drawing is all mental. It's a big mental game. Anybody could take a pencil and put a line down, but it's all about observing. I'm observing angles. I'm observing here's where the shoulder is based on the other shoulder. I'm observing where the hair comes out to right here based on, you know, where it is on the shoulder, where it is on the chin, you know, where, you know, just I'm constantly observing. Here's where the strap is probably going to be for her shirt. You know, all the times you see me putting my pencil up and laying it against the drawing, I'm just taking angle measurements right here. Angle of the chin, angle of the jawline. How far does it come out, you know, from the nose? You know, you're just taking all these observations. You know, what angle of the eyebrow is. You know, is it too high? Yeah, let's erase the top of it. Let's just shorten it a little bit. You know, these are just all observations you're making. No one has to tell you how to use an eraser. You know how to use an eraser. So you just observe something and then make a change with a pencil, make a change with an eraser. Drawing's actually not hard. It's observing is hard. Making observations and then translating those observations to the paper with your pencil. So here what I'm doing is I'm taking sort of my blending stump and I'm blending in, or I'm smudging in all the parts where I marked shadows. And what it's going to do, well, one thing you're going to notice, it's going to make the drawing look very dark. You're going to go, oh my God, you just screwed it up. But we really haven't. This is my favorite part, is smudging everything in. Because you think to yourself, you're just making everything too dark, but what you're really doing is you're really making it, this is like, you're rendering it. You're making it look more like a real person. So I'm just smudging it. I'm looking at the drawing and going, where do I see the dark? And I'm just kind of trying to smudge into the, I'm just trying to smudge it into the paper, but also along the same form lines. So I'm trying to smudge, you know, around the cheeks, down the side of the face here. You know, darkening this side of the nose. Look at me, look how dark it is. It almost looks like she has a mustache. But as we fully do the smudging, you'll realize that's not a mustache. That's just shadow. And your brain will read that correctly. So see, I'm kind of like going around the chin, going around the lips. Darkening the bottom of the nose. This is the bottom plane right here. Darkening the top of the nose, because right here, the ball of the nose is going to be the lightest part. So I'm going to try and keep that little highlight there. Underneath the neck, we got to blend all that in. I'm not going to worry about it too much at this point, because I like to really lock in the face first. So we're just blending it all in. It's a rough blend. If you look real closely, I mean, it's not smooth. But it's just giving us another layer to work with here. And it's funny, you know, when you look at a drawing in this stage, you don't realize how it's going to turn out, but something like this, we're going to make look very, very realistic, well, pretty realistic. I mean, if you saw the thumbnail of this video before you clicked it, you could see how, you know, nice we made a drawing look, even in the rough stage like this. That's what's so neat, is we now start working on bringing forward a lot of the values, bringing forward a lot of the realism. So what I'm doing is, now that we've kind of blended in the shadows, I'm going over the eyes, and I'm going to try and make the eyes just a little more realistic, a little more smoother. You know, a lot of the drawing, it's done in stages and in different passes. We pass over the drawing over and over and over again, and it gets more and more refined. So now that we've zoomed in, we can really see how I'm sort of blending in the charcoal right here. Just, I'll put down charcoal with my pencil like this, and just put it in the spots that I know is going to be darker, and then I'll end up blending it so it smooths it out. See right here, I'm just blending it in, establishing where that nose is. I'm so glad we brought that nose out. It looks so much better now than I had it before. But that just goes to show, you know, a lot of times you don't realize when you're drawing where your mistakes are. But if you just take your time, then they'll become evident to you. It's just becoming, be open to changing things. So I'm kind of erasing right now the white of the eyes, just so I'm looking at those little triangles inside. I had to make them a little bit bigger than I had them. And that's a good tip when you're drawing. You know, how big do I make the pupil of the iris of the eye? Well, look at how big the white of the eye is. Focus on the whites of the eyes, and then that'll determine the size of the iris. Here I'm just shading inside. I'm leaving this little spot, because in the picture you don't really see her pupil. You just see dark and a little highlight. So I'm kind of doing that here. I'm just kind of making the eye all one dark color, but keeping a little highlight. Excuse me. Drinking coffee, and I think I swallowed it down my trachea. Ugh. That's the advantage of me narrating over it, is I can drink coffee and still watch myself draw at the same time. So see, I kind of smooth everything out. There's not a lot of highlights or anything around the eye at this stage, but we'll end up bringing those out. I'm just trying to make things smooth. Notice, look how gray the skin is. Remember I said it looked really dark, but the great thing about it is it's a perfect environment for bringing out highlights, making it look like it's skin and not just white paper. So see, that smudging tool is good. Now watch, see the highlights, or I'm just lightening the side a little bit with my eraser. So see what we're doing, and we're just refining where we already had the eye before. I'm not really starting over, we're just going, okay, this is where the eye was. Let's now add even more detail to it. So the upper eyelid's always darker. Well, always, usually darker, just because of how the light hits it. I'm going to put this highlight in right here with my eraser, and then I'm going to just shade around that highlight. Just like this. See, I'm not really putting in a little dark iris or anything. I'm just, because you can't really see it in the picture. So I'm just keeping it all one solid color. Keep the little highlight in there. Look at the whites of the eyes. See those as little triangles. Asking myself, are the triangles too big or too small? And that's kind of all I'm doing there. Here I'm just reestablishing. I know this side right here is darker. This is the shadow side. So I know right here on the side of the nose it's a little darker. This side is not as dark because we're facing the light. So right here, little shadow by the nose. There's a little line here. You know, these are, again, it's all observation. Train yourself to observe as much detail as possible, and you'll become a great artist. And you're never done. You never reach a point where you go, that's it, I've mastered observation, because you're always learning to observe more and more details that you didn't notice before. That's why, like here, I'm jumping back up to the eye, you know, because I might think I'm done with an eye, go over to the nose, and then I'll observe something else by the eye that I missed and go, oh, there's a shadow right here, you know? So I'll jump back and work on that. See, right here, I'm just working on the shadow for the brow, just kind of keeping that form in mind. You know, that the eyebrow has a, or that brow, what is that, your brow ridge, your orbital, the top of your orbital bone, it's dark right there. Now I have it a little too dark, but we end up kind of adjusting that. But you could see what we're doing, it's making the drawing look three-dimensional just by adding these shadows. You know, the eyes are already looking like real human eyes looking back at you. So using the eraser, I'm just kind of bringing out these little highlights right here, because it is a little lighter. If you look at the picture right there, it's a little lighter. This side of the nose is lighter, so I'm just going to use my eraser. But look what this does to the nose. Now you get this feeling like light is hitting right there on the nose, and it's making it look even more realistic, more three-dimensional. So I'm trying to just get the little dark spots of the nostril in there. And using my eraser to establish this side of the nostril. I need it to be a little bit bigger. These are all things that I'm observing. I'm observing the, you know, how wide is the wing of the nose? Where does this nostril come down? What shape does it make? That's all going through my head. Drawing noses is really fun. It's probably one of my favorite things to do is draw noses. So I'm kind of smoothing out around the lips here. And then I'll use my eraser to kind of reshape. I'm trying to, you know, my mind still recognizes that the mouth looks a little diagonal. So I'm kind of trying to bring down this side over here without drastically changing the shape. But the problem is I'm liking what I see on my drawing. So it's like, even though my brain recognizes that it's not in the exact same pose as the model, I'm still liking what I'm drawing. So it's almost like I'm allowing myself to change it a little bit. Now look how white the teeth are right now, but you never leave them that white, so I end up, you'll see I end up graying them out with my smudge stick. Right in here. Just knocking them back down. Because the teeth really aren't, you know, white. So, just like the eyes are not white. So see what I mean? If you look at the drawing, right? And then look at the picture. You could see similarities. But you can also see that it's not exact. And so that's something that happens quite often with me, and I'm assuming with a lot of artists, especially freehanders, is, you know, what you're seeing is what your brain is observing. So it's kind of interesting to see how our brains interpret a picture, or how our brains interpret what we're seeing. It's quite fascinating that, you know, you don't realize it, but you make these subconscious changes. So I'm trying to make the bottom lip, I think, a little bit bigger than I had it. So I'm just erasing, and then I'm going to smudge a little bit lower than I had it to create this dark bottom plane of the lip. But I do like the way the way the drawing's coming out right now. I do like it. I do think it's looking pretty. So yeah, that's sort of the struggle I'm going through at this stage, is recognizing that it's not exactly like the reference, asking myself how much do I want to change what I have, and how much do I want to keep what I have and just make it look really nice. So I'm just reestablishing there that shadow line and using my eraser to kind of really define it. Right here on the side of the temple there, it's really light. And I just want that shadow line to be really sharp. Right there, really sharp line. And then I'll smooth it out. I'm trying not to draw a line on the face. I'm just trying to have like value, like a dark value and a light value, not like a line. You know, they say there's no lines in nature, just changes in tone and value. So I try and keep that in mind when I'm drawing faces. So again, I'm just trying to emphasize the mouth a little bit. And you always compare things like, you know, look where the corner of the mouth is. Where does it fall in relation to the eyes? You know, kind of goes right to where maybe the middle of the eye is on the one side. The other side, it looks like it comes kind of out to where the pupils or the iris starts. You're just constantly observing and making these adjustments. See, here I am erasing again for the light side of the face. Just lightly erasing, and that gives your brain the impression that, you know, light is really hitting right there. It gives it more form. It gives it just a greater effect. Some of the best drawings you can do, or the best models you can work with, are ones that have good shadows and lighting. So I'm just using my finger here, kind of smudging in. I do that occasionally. Use my finger to smudge something in. put in a little bit of the hair, just to give us something to look at, something to, you know, give us something to make us feel like, is the face correct? Let's draw around the face, frame it in with these other values, and see how that looks. And you can see it looks like a nice portrait is coming together. Is it exactly like the reference? No, but it's looking pretty realistic. Like the eyes and the nose and the mouth they look proportionate. They don't look like something's wrong. And so that's what I'm thinking at this stage. Okay, I'm liking the way it's coming along. Let me work on the hair here. And when you're doing hair, look at darks and lights of the hair. Hair isn't just hair. You have dark right here, it's really dark. Right around the ear, right around the chin line. This is the darkest part over here. You know, and look on the other side of the hair. There's going to be dark spots and light spots and highlights. I'm just shading in all this skin tone right here. And then I also want to shade around the hair, because it'll help bring it out, especially this side right over here. I'm going to want to make this really dark because it's the lightest hair. And you'll see it'll stand out really nice. But we're just going to rub it all in for now. Rub all the skin in, rub all this tone in that we put down. And see all this little stuff that we're doing around the face. It's really going to bring the face, it's going to really make what we've done to the face even more realistic. So we're just smudging everything in again. Again, this is all done in different passes, different layers. So we're just slowly going over it again, smoothing it out even more. Notice I'm keeping these sort of like lighter spots around the nose and around the mouth. We'll eventually adjust those, but it's something that you don't want to just shade over. You want to keep that there so the drawing doesn't become too flat. You want to remember the form of the face. Now at this stage of the drawing, I'm actually pretty happy with how it's turning out. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm thinking it's looking realistic. It doesn't look just like a beginner. It looks like a real artist drew it. And that's something I still struggle with mentally, is just reminding myself, no, you're an artist. You're not just, just because you're not as good as other people doesn't mean you're not an artist. And so it's important for you to always positively reinforce that in your own self. Don't get down on your own drawing, or don't compare what you do to somebody else and go, I'm not as good as this other person. No, we're all improving. We're all learning. That's why you're watching this video, is you like art and you want to learn how it's, either learn how it's done or learn how you can do it yourself. And so we're constantly helping each other out and improving. And every one you do, you get better and better. So see, I'm kind of just going over the eyebrows again. They're not as dark as they should be compared to the eyes, so I'm kind of making them a little bit darker. And then it kind of curves right there where the temple is. Using my eraser to kind of made a little bit too high, so I kind of use my eraser, and then I'll use my smudge stick to kind of smudge it in. Yeah, but something really about this drawing I really like, sort of, it's, the highlight in the eyes, and then that little highlight on the nose, to me, just, it like I don't know, I just like the way that looks. Kind of makes it hard to believe that it's actually just a piece of paper, because it looks like it's, you know, almost three-dimensional. So here I'm kind of working on the hair a little bit. Again, I'm asking myself, where's the dark parts of the hair? So look at the drawing, and then look where I'm drawing. You know, right around the side of the face is dark. Right over here, I'm trying to outline with the side of the pencil these like diamond-shaped dark spots. Like right in here, it kind of comes out, comes down this way, comes back, so it kind of makes this like diamond shape right here. So I'm just going to darken that. You know, just looking at the picture, and you can see where the dark spots of the hair are. So just highlight those with, make those dark. Right down in here it's dark. So I'm just using my pencil to kind of make it dark. All in here. This is all dark. Dark, dark, dark. And see, by making certain spots dark, it's automatically bringing forward the spots that you didn't touch. So those now are light. And that's what gives hair its volume. That's what gives it, that's what doesn't make it look flat. When you have these dark spots and then you have these light spots, it makes it look like real hair. Notice I'm not drawing individual hairs. I'm just trying to draw the value. I'm just going, this is dark, so here's a bunch of dark, here's a big dark splotch right here. This is dark right underneath here, underneath the ear. See, I'm not drawing hair. I'm just observing what's dark and what is the shape. It comes down like this to the shoulder, comes back up, and it's about the width of the ear. So I'm making it about the width of the ear. So it's dark, and I see the shape, and I try and draw it. And now for this blonde hair to really show up blonde, look what I'm doing. I'm shading around it a darker tone. See all this right there? It's all going to be darker, which is going to make the hair look lighter. Watch. So smudging this in. Notice I'm not smudging over where the hair is, because I want that to look like blonde hair. So what I'll do is, if I want, you know, if I really want something to stand out, if it's really light, I'll shade dark around it. And if it's really dark, I'll shade light around it. Create that contrast. So using my finger, kind of blending in all that we put in before. Smooth it out a little bit. Notice there's still there's still light spots and dark spots, but it blends it together, and it's adding more texture to it. Okay, I'm gonna take another sip of coffee, so hopefully I don't choke. That's good coffee. So I'm just using a soft charcoal, compressed charcoal here, to kind of just draw some of the dark spots in. A lot of times with hair too, it's a process. You don't just draw hair and stop. You draw hair and you go over it, over and over and over. Go over it, smooth it out, erase some spots, go over it, smooth it out, erase some spots. And you do that over and over and over again, and the hair starts just layering itself, just like real hair. See, we're almost done with the face. The face still needs, it's still not smoothed out really. It's still a little bit blotchy, but because of how you saw how he shaded, look at how the form is, and how you could see there's light spots and dark spots. So that tells you what's closer to the light, further away from the light. I'm just working a little bit on her shirt. You can't really see it that well in the actual reference photos, so I don't spend a lot of time on it. It's mostly just her hair and skin that's below the head. So here we're working a little bit on the shadow right here underneath the chin. And this really makes the face come forward even more by putting the shadow in here. So I'm just kind of looking at the shape of the shadow and just darkening it in with my pencil like this. And look, that just creates this nice, look at that, it feels like the face is now coming forward at you even more. So I just know on this side of the neck it's a little bit darker, so I'm just kind of bringing in that shading a little bit. Zoom out just a little bit here so you can see the full picture. So at this point of the drawing, in real life, without being sped up, what you're seeing here is about 2 hours of work with a couple breaks in between. So that just goes to show, you know, drawing like this, freehand and just using your observation, how you can draw something really nice. It doesn't have to take a week, 100 hours, or, you know, all that. And the other thing I like about freehand, which I'll probably do a dedicated video on, excuse me, is I like that you can just sit down and draw. Observe something and draw it. You don't have to trace first. You don't have to get out a ruler and lay down a grid and then draw on top of your reference photo and copy everything over. You don't got to do any of that. You could just sit down and draw and just work on that. The freedom of that to me is so appealing. That's what I love. That here we are, what you're seeing here on this video is literally a little over 2 hours of real-time drawing, sped up to an hour already. But, you know, in 2 hours you can draw something like this, and we didn't have to prepare. We didn't have to get ready. And we just sat down and started drawing. So back to the drawing, I'm just kind of establishing, you know, the lines of the neck again, some of where the hair comes out to on the neck. Notice we lost like the strap of the clothing that I had before. That all just kind of got smudged. But here I'm just going over the lines of the neck. Now, notice how dark this is. This is a little too dark. You know, kind of looks like scars at this point. So we're going to eventually knock this back down and not make it so dark. But it is dark right now just to have something down there. You know, I'm trying to look at the picture and see where is it darker, where is it lighter. So yeah, right now the neck is a little too dark, those lines that I put there. So I end up, well, you'll see. You'll see. So right in here, I'm trying to see, you know, it's a little darker right here. So I'm laying down kind of what we did in the beginning with the face, laying down shadows. You know, trying to find where does it come out to? Where's that clavicle at? Right here is where the clavicle, kind of looking at the angle of the clavicle. Noticing that it makes this sort of triangle shape right there. So we're just laying down these light shades. Here's where the strap is going to go. Just look how much I had it off before. You know, looks like we're about 1/2 inch over where we had it before. But that's okay. It all gets blended in. So now I'm going to just kind of smooth out what I drew. Smudge, smudge, smudge. Notice how dark it makes it, but we end up correcting that. It's almost like the process is, you know, lay down some charcoal, smooth it out by smudging it, and then use your eraser to either lighten or minimize what you smudged. See, look how dark this is right here where I'm at. You don't see that in the picture. If I left it just like that, it would look like her neck is sunken in, right? Because the darker you make something, the further back you push it. So right now her neck looks like it's pushed in, like she's sucking in the air. So we're gonna fix that, but that just shows you the power that lights and darks have. That what you can do if you observe something and you observe that something needs to go back, you can darken it. If you need something to come forward, you lighten it. And that's all part of your observation. See, now right now the skin and the shirt kind of look the same, so I have to kind of lighten the shirt a little bit. I got to make it lighter than the skin. Otherwise it's just going to look like all one value. We don't want that. So I'm kind of darkening again around this part of the hair because I want this hair to look like it's completely hitting the light. Okay, so here's where I'm going to start to kind of lighten things a little bit. Kind of just looking at where the light spots are on the drawing, like right here on the shoulder. That's light. Lighten right underneath the shadow for the clavicle. Lighten right here. It's very subtle, this part. There's very light right here, but I'm going to have to lighten everything because that's like, again, it's too dark on the neck. Right in there, it's too dark. But I'm trying to smooth it out at the same time, even though I recognize it's too dark. And look, my brain went, oh, let me jump back to the mouth. There's no rhyme or reason to my thinking. It just, I noticed something and I gotta jump to it. So, what else can I say? At this part of the drawing, we're still in double speed, so I'm only working twice as fast as I normally would. It might look like I'm moving a lot faster in 2 times the speed, but this really is only 2 times the speed. A little bit later in this video, I actually go 10 times the speed, because it's just so, there's just little tiny things. It'd be way too boring to watch, so I speed it up a little bit more. I'll tell you when we get to that spot. But right now this is just 2 times the speed. I'm looking at the angle. I had a lot of trouble or a lot of questions with this angle of the face. It looks kind of correct right now, but I still have trouble with it. So here I'm bringing out the highlights of the hair. Watch what I do with an eraser. Just erase right. You'll see these lines that are made. It's going to really give the hair, it's really what makes the hair go from okay to wow, that looks like real hair. So I'm drawing in the darks, and then I'm going to use the eraser to bring out these little highlights. Like this. Just flick, flick, flick. Flick the eraser. And see, now it's making the hair look even more real. Up here I'm going to add a few. Doesn't take much. You don't want to overdo it, but just these little flicks. And I'm using this little mono eraser. It's like a pencil eraser, but it's really a good tool because you can get these really fine little lines. Oh, there's my big head in the way. Sorry about that. But see, all I did is just lighten that hair right there with the eraser, so it looks like it's really like blonde hair hitting it. Light hitting blonde hair. Kind of forgot about the ear, or neglected the ear, so we're jumping back to the ear. And again, I'm not trying to draw an ear, I'm trying to draw whatever that shape is inside the ear. Just focus on drawing shapes, and then next thing you know, voila, you've drawn a feature. And then I'm just smudging it down, making it a little bit darker, because the ear is sort of shadowed by the hair. The ear isn't catching the light that the cheek is catching, so by shading that down, it's giving you that illusion that the ear is sort of behind the hair. And then I know up here on the side of the head there's a shadow, so I'm just putting in the shadow, or the darker shadow here, because I want to give the impression that the hair is coming over the forehead. So I'm just reestablishing. I sometimes smudge things, and so I gotta re-erase to show off that brightness. So we're gonna smudge in that shadow. We don't want it as dark as the hair, or else it's gonna look like the hair. So we gotta make it lighter than the hair. And then make the hair darker. So I'm gonna make the hair a little bit darker right in this area. As long as this part's darker of the hair, then what we drew on the forehead is going to look like a shadow. So putting some more highlights in with my little mono eraser. A lot of times too, I've mentioned this in my other tutorials, don't neglect the hair as far as like the shape. A lot of times just changing the hair can really affect the likeness of the person you're trying to draw. You might have everything correct on the eyes and the nose and the mouth, but if you get the hair wrong, like the shape of the hair, something will look off, and you won't be able to tell what it is. And you'll start changing the nose, and you'll start changing the eyes, because you're like, something's off. It really could be just the shape of the hair that really changes a person's face. That's why sometimes I'll draw the hair, the shape of the hair, in the early stages, just so I can see how it looks with the face. So here I am working a little bit more on the mouth. And at this stage right here, it's now 10 times the speed. I'm at the stage now of the drawing where most of it is set in stone. I'm not going to change a lot of it. And I'm just questioning things like this angle of the cheek or this height of the hair. It's just little things that I'm slowly doing. A lot of thinking involved. There's a lot of me looking, observing, questioning what is correct, what needs to be changed. I struggle a lot here with the side of her left side of her face. Right here, there's just something that's not right to me. So I'm using my eraser to kind of reestablish this angle. I felt like I was making her face look a little fat, like, or too round. So I'm trying to make it sharper right here. And then I just smudge it back down. It's still a little too round. So I play a lot with it here. You're going to see me make all these, you know, I'm trying to fix big mistakes. And I don't know if I ever successfully did it. I do know I like how it finally turned out, but I don't know if I was ever fully successful. See, her face is, right now her face is round. Where if you look at the reference picture, it's not. So I'm learning and struggling with that, trying to make her face, you know, I recognize her face looks round. So I'm trying to make her face not round in the picture. But this is the final stages here. A lot of this is trying to make it smooth, so I'm going over these spots again, smoothing it out, trying to make sure that the shadows are, the darks are dark, the lights are light. You know, I'm realizing, okay, it doesn't look exactly like the picture, but let me make it as nice of a finished product or finished portrait as I can. So I'm trying to, I was trying to make her eye here a little bit different shape. So I'm trying to flatten it a little bit. So again, here we are, the final stages, and I'm still making changes to it. And let that be a lesson. It's never too late to, if you don't like something about your drawing, just erase it and make adjustments. See, I'm trying to make her chin not look as round right here. I'm trying to, you know, put some shadowing in and erase here. I'm just trying to create more of an angle on her chin. Right here I got to smooth this part out a little bit. It looks a little too blocky. So I'm trying to smooth out the shadow. But yeah, I think one of my mistakes is the angle of the, I just made her face a little too round. Just something that small. Remember I was saying how something small can really drastically change the likeness? I think with her and the likeness, the cheek, that left side of her cheek really makes a huge difference. I have it a little too round. Here I see I'm lightening the neck where I had it before. I'm just lightening all that so it doesn't stand out quite as much. Smoothing everything out. We're just about done. Like I said, we're in the stage now of the drawing where you're seeing me 10 times the speed, because I'm just making all these little adjustments. I'm trying to correct the mouth just a little bit. I felt like I was trying to bring it down just a little bit, not so diagonal. You know, the problem is at this stage, you know, I didn't want to erase too much because I do like how it looks. So it was a struggle for me to just say, how much do I want to keep? How much do I want to change? I'm not trying to get it to be an exact copy, so I didn't want to change too much. Because like I said, I do like the way the drawing is looking. Even though I kind of lost the person's likeness along the way. I do think it looks like a very pretty girl. So yeah, see, I'm just jumping all over. I'm kind of getting highlights here on the shadow for the hair, smoothing out the forehead. I need to smooth out the face a little bit because I can still see some lines, some blotchiness, and so forth. So that's what I'm doing at this stage. It's all angle checking. It's all, is this smooth? Is this need to be darkened or lightened? This part would be way too boring to watch in real time, but this is it right here. This is me wrapping it up. So I really appreciate everybody that's watched this video. It means a lot to me, and yeah, so this is the final picture right here. So thank you so much for watching. God, I really appreciate it. Check out these other videos you see on the screen, some of my other artwork. If you haven't already, please subscribe. You can hit that picture of me here, my channel icon. And with that being said, I'll see you next week for the next drawing.